What's the saying? Don't hate the player, hate the game. Am I allowed to hate both? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. That was certainly one of the NASCAR races of all time. I have so much to get off my chest. We'll get to everything in just a moment. First, ironically, this episode is sponsored by Okuma. This was scheduled weeks ago, I swear, but Okuma America Corporation is not only a Richard Childress Racing partner, they're a broader motorsports partner that fuels the production of critical components for your favorite drivers' race cars. Okuma's dedication to providing efficient, high-speed, and high-precision CNC machine tools with cutting-edge technologies and local service and support pairs perfectly with the craft and passion that fuels the fierce competition of NASCAR. Head to okuma.com to learn even more about the role they play in the world of NASCAR and beyond. You can also check out their social media links down in the description below. Thank you to Okuma America Corporation for sponsoring the show. I am shaken by what I've witnessed tonight. We'll talk about the finish, don't you worry. We'll take a look at the points, the playoff grid, what's changed. We'll break down other key storylines, analyze key performers, put this race on the groovy gauge, and more. But first, I actually want to start by praising Austin Dillon. The first 399 laps tonight were perhaps the best 399 laps of Austin Dillon's NASCAR Cup Series career. I have long been a defender of Austin Dillon. Has he ever fully lived up to expectations? Likely no. He was a Truck Series champion, an Xfinity Series champion, won the Daytona 500 in 2018, but he's never evolved into a Cup Series championship contender. Folks love to dunk on him because they don't like the way he's raced people in the past, or his granddad owns the team, but Austin Dillon, between 2016 and 2022, qualified for the playoffs 5 out of 7 years. And we all agree that Richard Childress Racing, while good, is not elite nowadays. Austin Dillon's record is pretty darn good, which is why I often find myself defending him when fans try to pile on. Now, that being said, the past nearly 2 years have been miserable for Austin Dillon. 2023 was terrible. I think he had 10 DNFs. What? This season, somehow even worse. 32nd in points coming into tonight, only 2 top 10 finishes. 2024 has been the worst statistical season of Austin Dillon's Cup Series career. That's kind of hard to believe. Absolutely no momentum coming into tonight whatsoever. Yet for the first 399 laps, Austin Dillon, Justin Alexander, that whole 3 team put together a phenomenal performance. Qualified well inside the top 10. They ran inside the top 10, even inside the top 5. Then in stage 3, they raced their way up to the front, battling champions like Joey Logano, one of the championship favorites, Denny Hamlin. They take the lead in the closing laps. Unbelievable. Austin Dillon, 32nd in points, nearly a 2-year winless streak. They had to drag his old crew chief out of semi-retirement to work with him this year. The 3 team was about to go back to victory lane at a non-super speedway, a short track, huge playoff upset. The script was written, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does. What the hell was this? What's with this trend of veteran drivers not being able to keep their cars underneath them with 2 laps to go? Kyle Busch at Indy, and then Ricky Stenhouse. This is just inexplicable. What is he doing? 1 caution for incident all day, and it was Ricky with a lap and a half to go, racing for nothing. Goodness me, terrible stuff. That sets up, of course, overtime. But real quick, before we break down this overtime restart, I want to compliment Austin Dillon and Justin Alexander for a phenomenal first 399 laps. And even the pit crew, during overtime, they got on and off pit road with no issue, quick, held the lead. The first 400 laps, really, regulation, the 3 car was mint. Incredible performance. They deserved to win this race. Then overtime happened, and this went from the greatest performance of Austin Dillon's career to perhaps the ugliest performance of Austin Dillon's career. First, he blew the restart. I know we gave Denny Hamlin crap in the spring for jumping the restart a bit, but this is why you should go early in the zone. He's restarting against Joey Logano, great restarter. And he waits and waits and waits until the second restart zone line. That's too long. Of course, the 22 gets a great jump, rides the outside momentum, and clears to take the lead cleanly, straight up, and fairly. So there's strike one. Austin Dillon blows the restart. Whoops. Strike two, coming to 3 and 4 for the final time. Austin Dillon is not in Joey Logano's zip code. He's a good 3, 4, 5 car lengths back. He floors it. Doesn't lift. Drives into the back of Logano, spins the 22 out into the outside wall. That's one way to get rid of the leader, I suppose. And then strike three, he comes down the track and right hooks Denny Hamlin into the outside wall. Finishes the job. Austin Dillon crosses the line first. Carnage behind him, created by him. Austin Dillon celebrates. He is now locked into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. He snaps, again, a nearly 2-year winless streak. He gets the trophy, but boy, it was ugly. Dare I say, hideous. Here's my take. I already know what some fans are going to write in the comments below. Don't hate the player, hate the game. NASCAR's format prioritizes winning above all else. One win and all your problems go away. Your terrible season, whoosh, gone, just like that. You're in the playoffs, so much on the line. Difference between finishing first and second in this race, if you're Austin Dillon, is immense. You gotta do what you gotta do. Don't hate the player, hate the format. That's valid. And to my credit, go back to the first year of Out of the Groove, 2016. The show looked a lot different back then. I have always been a critic of the win and you're in part of this format. Sometimes it's fun, creates big moments, but by and large, I've never been a huge fan of a 25th, 30th place guy winning at Daytona in July, or getting a rain-shortened Pocono win to nab a spot. Like, I've never been a huge fan of that. I've been very consistent. But I understand fans are going to say, hey, Austin Dillon did what he had to do. And under this format, you're exactly right. But that's why I truly believe this may be the moment that NASCAR has to look in the mirror and decide if they like what they have become. Because there's a line between sport and entertainment. NASCAR usually floats in this gray area. Today, thanks to Austin Dillon, they look like a joke compared to other worldwide major motorsport series. Wildly entertaining, yes, lots to discuss, plenty to react to. But was it good sport? No, absolutely not. Did it take any skill to drive in 4 car lengths deep and plow through the 22? Absolutely not. Did it take any skill to turn left and right hook the 11 car on corner exit? Absolutely not. I could do that. You could do that. Did the 11 or the 22 do anything to deserve retaliation from Austin Dillon? Absolutely not. I know folks hate Hamlin and Logano, but if we just remove the drivers themselves from the scenario and you tell me that one car came flying in from way back, wrecked one guy, and then when another dude tried to sneak by, they wrecked him as well, would you say it was fair? Or would you say it was a skillful display of driving? Was it good sport? I would hope you would say no. I would hope most all of us can agree that that's not good sportsmanship. A lot of folks are comparing Austin Dillon tonight to the late, great Dale Earnhardt, who of course also drove the number 3. May I remind you that when Dale Earnhardt wrecked Terry Labonte at Bristol in the 90s, he was booed. He wasn't cheered. He wasn't glamorized the way we now sort of glamorize that era. No, he was booed by the majority of fans in Tennessee that night. I hope we as a fan base, as an industry, can kind of get back to that. Austin Dillon tonight is the rightful winner. I'm not arguing NASCAR should now retroactively strip him of his victory. I think Austin Dillon should get the trophy. He should get the playoff spot. But like I said, this may have crossed enough of a line that it causes NASCAR before next year to look into how they officiate things. I don't want NASCAR to turn into the FIA where every little bump and run or bump draft is scrutinized. But like tonight, we reportedly have radio transmission from Austin Dillon's team telling him to wreck the 11. Wreck him, wreck him, wreck him. Austin Dillon then wrecks the 11, right rears him into the wall. To me, when we have that kind of damning, glaring evidence, I think in the future wins should be taken away. Not this win, because there really is no past precedent. I'm not saying they should strip Austin Dillon of this win. I'm saying next year, let's rewrite the rulebook. And if Austin Dillon or any other driver wins a race in similar fashion, then no, I don't think they should get credit. I hope I'm making myself clear. I don't think it would be fair to punish Austin Dillon tonight because NASCAR has been very hands-off up to this point. They don't strip people of wins for aggressive driving. They don't do that. So I'm not saying they should take this win away. Now that being said, a fine, maybe something later in the week. I mean, there is precedent for that. We'll see. I'm saying going forward, NASCAR should look in the mirror and realize that they are a sport first. Entertaining, yes, but good sport should come first. And what we saw tonight at the finish was not good sport. I hope most of us can agree on that, even if maybe you're not a Denny Hamlin fan or a Joey Logano fan. Let's take a look at the rest of the top 10 finishers tonight. Denny Hamlin comes home second, started on pole, raced inside the top 5 all day, gets a good result, but not the one I'm sure he was hoping for. Tyler Reddick third, Bubba Wallace fourth. Tremendous night for 23XI Racing. Bubba Wallace especially. He's battling for one of those final playoff spots. We'll look at the points in a moment, but Bubba entered tonight -7. He earned points in both stages, gets a top 5 finish. Mission accomplished. The 23 team stays hot this summer. And on that note, Ross Chastain. Trackhouse has been kind of slumping. They brought the speed tonight. Chastain trying to hold off Bubba Wallace, gets a top 5, just didn't earn the stage points though. So again, we'll look at the standings in a moment. Things have changed just a little bit, especially with Austin Dillon winning. I guess that goes without saying. Christopher Bell ends up 6th. A speeding penalty in stage 3 took him out of contention. I think Bell was probably the fastest car tonight. He did win the opening stage, so he adds to his stage win total, adds a playoff point, so that's good, but disappointing he wasn't in contention for the win. He did have a backup crew chief this week, Adam Stevens. Injury, was back at the war room at JGR calling some shots from there. Quiet night for Kyle Larson, all things considered, but he still scores a 7th place finish. How about Carson Hocevar? I think he was 10th or 11th before the overtime. He gets a top 10. Good for him. Great run for the rookie. Quiet night for Hendrick overall. I know Larson gets a top 10, so does Chase Elliott, but that was about the best we saw from them. I think Chase a couple times snuck into the top 5, Larson on strategy, but we didn't hear much from Byron or Bowman, so just kind of an okay night for Hendrick Motorsports. Maybe something to watch. 10th for Daniel Suarez. Man, Matt Swiderski, that whole team employed some wild strategy to gain track position early. He won a stage doing it, playoff point, then faded at the start of stage 3, battled his way back, held on their final restart despite being at a tire disadvantage, I would say, to get a top 10. Well done. Roller coaster of a week for Daniel Suarez, ends on a high note. Actually, it really hasn't been a roller coaster. Suarez has been riding a high for a few weeks now. Wedding, new contract, winning in Brazil. Yeah, I guess it's not really a roller coaster if it's just way up here. It's just like constantly a lift hill. If like a roller coaster was just the lift hill going up. That's been Daniel Suarez the past few weeks. Shout out Kyle Busch coming back to finish 12th. Loose wheel on pit road, pinned him a lap down. That team also had to employ some aggressive tire strategy, using the softer option tires to make up position, try to get back on the lead lap. He ends up 12th. Good job, good perseverance. I know it's going to sting for Kyle Busch fans seeing the other RCR car go to victory lane, but this just goes to show you what I've been saying all along. You got to keep an eye on next season, of course, rebuild, retool, hit the ground running in 2025, but you can't give up on 2024 like some have suggested. One win, 1 week, all your problems go away. Austin Dillon just showed that. RCR has been off this year, but the proof is in the pudding. They can still hit on it any given weekend. They shouldn't throw in the towel just because this season has been less than stellar thus far. You never know what kind of magic you could capture in a single weekend. So Kyle Busch, 12th. Those are some of your top finishers. A couple I want to mention as well. Martin Truex Jr. raced in the top 5, top 10 all night. Blows a motor late in this race. Another engine problem for Joe Gibbs Racing. It's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse. These problems are coming up more frequently. I think Ty Gibbs had issues at both Pocono and Indy back-to-back, and then the very next race here, Truex has an issue. It's like every week now, a Gibbs car is having some sort of technical malfunction. The playoffs are around the corner. This is not the time to be having these sorts of issues. Very, very concerning, no doubt. But there you go. Those are some of your top finishers from today's race at Richmond. Now, real quick, let's take a look at the playoff grid. Oh my goodness, Austin Dillon now is in the playoffs. But as you can see, Bubba Wallace leapfrogged both Ross Chastain and Chris Buescher. It's a slim margin, but a margin nonetheless. Wallace holding on to the final playoff spot, +3. Buescher and Chastain both 3 points behind. I forgot to mention Chris Buescher, but another potentially good run going, top 10. Loose wheel on pit road, fell a lap down, never fully recovered. Just another mistake costing this 17 team crucial points midway through the season. But yeah, wow, the playoff bubble is extremely close, especially now that Austin Dillon is a race winner. Shoot, Ty Gibbs, kind of a quiet night. I just mentioned those previous engine issues, only 19 points to the good. Now he's sweating as well, for sure. Real quick, before we put this race on the Groovy gauge, quick thoughts on the option versus prime tires. I think it was a success tonight, personally. Like, we saw a dramatic difference between the two. Worn out racetrack, longer stages, of course, much better effect than what we saw at North Wilkesboro earlier in the season. I think this is the move going forward. In fact, I hope Goodyear continues to get aggressive. Maybe one day these option, the softer tires, just become the tire. I think Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, maybe a few others echoed similar comments this weekend. I'd be curious to hear what drivers had to say after the race. Maybe we'll talk about it this week. I like that we're giving the teams choices of tires during the race itself, but maybe for simplicity's sake, if we have just one great tire that produces great fall off, good racing, maybe we just commit to that, stick to that. I don't know, it's still early in the process, but I overall really enjoyed what the prime versus option tire component brought to this race. Anyway, let's put this thing on the Groovy Gauge. The Groovy Gauge is powered by Electric E-Bikes. Head to electricebikes.com to learn more. I'm going to give tonight's Richmond Raceway NASCAR return I'm going to go 70%. The ugly last lap taints it a little, although, again, I think Austin Dillon for 400 laps was the most deserving winner. I just hate that's ultimately how he got it done. The strategy racing up to that point was phenomenal despite no natural cautions before lap 399. I thought this was a compelling race. Not a barn burner by any means, but better than most recent Richmond races. Perhaps that's the option tire factor coming into play. I'm going to go 70%. The finish, of course, is going to get everyone talking, plenty of content and controversy, but the race itself, 70%. That's my score. I think that's all I've got for tonight. Boy, can't wait to read the comments on this one. While you're down there, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, news, rumors, race recaps, and so much more. And a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. This push to the playoffs is off to a spicy start. Michigan next week, then Daytona, then Darlington. Boy, it's not slowing down, is it? Thanks for watching this episode, folks. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Have a great start to your week if you're watching this on Monday. I'll talk to you again real soon.